Hi there. Happy Monday. Hope you're having a great second week of the new year. And I sure am. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Things are still staying on track. So happy to be here with you today. I'm going to be answering a question that was sent in to me from Tammy. She asked me how I would like to know how to get my new boss to realize that I have been and will continue helping our company. Absolutely fantastic question. And I think it actually goes really well in hand with what I've been thinking about for this new year and the possibilities that I want to create in the upcoming year. So I'm going to be sharing all of that with you today on today's live. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. So my name is Stacey Mayer, and I am coming to you guys every single week to give you strategies to get yourself promoted into senior level leadership roles. I am not your average cookie cutter corporate coach. I am specifically focused on how to get you promoted, right? How do we actually get you into that senior level leadership role? Because what I noticed is when I first started coaching, that I was coaching a lot of people on being better managers, but that didn't necessarily get them a voice at the table. And you might have experienced this for yourself. And I want to make sure that not only are you the best manager that you can be, but that you actually have a voice at your organization, that you're actually part of the leadership team. So that's what the work that I've been doing for the past few years. And I distill that all down into a process that I share with you on these Facebook Lives, that I share with you on my podcast, Maximize Your Career with Stacey Mayer, that I share with you on all of my corporate trainings. And speaking of trainings, before I get into answering the question as well, Tammy actually sent me that question because she's going to be attending my webinar tomorrow. And I'm going to put the URL in here. It's staceymayer.com/promotion. So you can get yourself signed up for this free live training where I'll be showing you the 3 unconscious habits that are preventing you from getting promoted. Because I found that as I was coaching clients to get that recognition, that there were always these things that they kept saying, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I was doing that, right? We feel like we've tried all the things. We feel like we've done it all. We feel like we've set ourselves up. I was just having a conversation with a client today, and she said, I've put out all the signals, which I think is great, right? It's like, yeah, I've put out all the signals, but what I coach is how to actually, let's be a little bit more deliberate about it, right? Let's not just put out the signals and hope that somebody finds us. Let's actually go out and be having proactive conversations, right? Let's go out and actually communicate our value. And so that's going to get into answering some of Tammy's question today, is how do we communicate that value? So we get somebody new on board. Many of you guys are getting new bosses because we're reorgs, we're reshuffling, things are happening. Lots of transition right now. So we're getting new opportunities, and you probably feel that desire to do better this time, right? So you have a new boss and you feel like, gosh, if I could just do better this time, if I could just show that new boss that I am very willing to grow and to help the organization, I'm good at what I do. And so this is why I thought about, in answering this question, I actually thought about the new year, right? I thought about our New Year's resolutions and how most of us tend to approach the new year. So we approach the new year in that same exact way, right? It's a new year, a new beginning. How can I get it off on the right foot? If I just do all the right things in January, then I'll be able to set myself up for success, right? In the future, right? Which is sort of what's happening when you get a new boss. You're like, if I just do all the right things right now, then I'm going to have success in the future. And we all know that 80% of New Year's resolutions don't work. They don't stick. And part of the reason that they don't stick is because of that pressure that we put on ourselves, right? So we're putting that pressure. We have a new boss. We have a new person coming in, and we put a lot of pressure on it, right? How do I show them? How do I prove my worth in the first 2 weeks of working with this person? So that's one way of approaching it, is we sort of like go all in and try and tell them how amazing we are, how motivated we are, right? Like, so we're going to have our first few meetings with them and just like, yeah, I'm just going to make sure I show them that I'm very enthusiastic, right? And I don't know if that's what Tammy's doing or whatever, but I'm just saying in general, that's one approach. The other approach is this passive approach, right? Which is like, well, we can't really do anything about it. So let's go back to our New Year's Eve scenario, which is that we are looking at the new year and we say 80% of New Year's resolutions fail. And so I don't want to be another one of those failures. So I'm just really not going to put my hopes too high, right? Like I'm going to go with it. I'm not going to eat all the Oreo cookies, but perhaps I might walk a little bit more. So we just sort of set these mild expectations so that we don't have to fail too big, because we know how hard failure feels. So we just are like, let me just ease our way into it. So we do this with our new boss. So maybe the other way is that you kind of ease your way into it and you sort of say, well, we'll just see what happens. I'm sure my new boss is really busy and just has like a lot of work to do. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time or energy on it. So what I want to give you today is a third scenario. Let's put the energy into it, right? Let's put the energy into every single relationship that we have at work, whether that person has been at our organization for 27 years or they're a new boss. Let us start to think about how we can begin to communicate our executive leadership to those people, right? Let us start to be proactive about our career choices and our career trajectory, right? Because it is absolutely 100% within your control. So again, I'm going to go back to this New Year's analogy. One of the things that really works for me is I don't really think of them as resolutions. I think of them as ways of being. So you've heard people talk about picking a word of the year, right? And my 2 words of the year, my focus of 2021 is actually greater expectations. So when I say greater expectations, that means something to me. It actually fuels me to do things differently, right? It is, in fact, a New Year's resolution. And it's also a way out whenever I feel like I'm not being my best self, right? When I'm not actually producing or being the person that I want to be, right? Like, so instead of yelling at my kids, I feel like I'm like, okay, Stacy, I take a moment, ask myself, what's actually going on here? What do I need for my children right now? And I deal with the situation, right? So greater expectations to me means having higher standards for myself, right? Essentially, without beating myself up, of course. So if you think about your relationship with this new boss and you actually say to yourself, what is a word? What is a quality that I want to create with my new boss, right? What is actually, how do I want to set up this relationship in terms of perception, in terms of cadence, in terms of like how it's going to continue in the future, how it will lead to future possibilities as literally a word or a way of being. And one of the words that I give a lot of my clients is partner. So if you thought of your boss as a partner, many of you guys don't think of your boss as a partner. You think of your boss as a boss. If you thought of your boss as a partner and you wanted to actually show your executive leadership, how would you conduct those first few meetings, right? You probably wouldn't talk about how amazing you are and start tooting your own horn and like be very braggy. You probably wouldn't wait and be very passive in terms of like, well, I'll just wait and see what she has to say. You might actually be very proactive and engaged in the conversation. You might be curious. You might ask your new boss questions about what they like about their own leadership, what they value in leadership. You might actually have a conversation with them, and you might create a partnership so that when future opportunities open up, they think of you first. That is acting like the executive ahead of time. That is executive leadership right now. What you can do today to set yourself up for your future promise. And that, my friends, is totally doable. That is not a resolution that bottoms out at the end of the day, right? Because it's fueled by your why and it's fueled by what really matters to you. So if any of you have a new boss, or you have an old boss, somebody that you want to reignite your relationship with, then do that. Think about the quality that you want to do in terms of that connection with that person, and actually build that relationship from that place. I mentioned at the top of this broadcast that I have a free live training coming up this week. You can go to staceymayer.com/promotion and sign up for that. 3 unconscious habits that are preventing you from getting promoted, and how to get the recognition that you really deserve. Because so many of you don't know what you don't know. And we've heard that before. But until we can bring our unconscious habits into the conscious, then we can't actually do anything about it. So sign up for that webinar. Join us. Otherwise, I'll see you here on my next live. Take care. Bye.